Hi, I'm your host, Caitlin, and this is the Ohio True Crime Podcast. Disclaimer: the context of this podcast contains disturbing information and is advised to be listened to at your own discretion. The case I'm discussing today is Mackenzie Shirilla. Mackenzie was born August 2nd, 2004. She was known as being a wild child. She was engaging in drugs and provocative social media posts. She was dating 20-year-old Dominic Russo for about 4 years. They had met in school. They lived together in one of Dominic's parents' houses. The couple would fight often. July 21st, 2022, around 5:39 a.m., the fateful crash happened. The group went to a couple graduation parties the night before. Mackenzie drove into a brick wall going 100 plus miles an hour. The crash happened early in the morning and police didn't find it until hours later. She said she blacked out and it was just an accident. She was airlifted to the hospital with multiple fractures. Unfortunately, her boyfriend Dominic Russo and their friend Davion Flanagan passed away in the crash. The black box of the car recorded the last 5 seconds before the crash. It took the car 20 to 25 seconds to get up to speed. She didn't apply the brake at all. She had pressed the gas all the way to the floor. Dominic and Davion didn't have their seatbelts on. One of the prosecutors believed they saw the crash coming and were trying to get out of the car but were too late. When police were going through the car, they found a weed pen, multiple grams of marijuana, mushrooms, grinders, and a bong. Davion was 19 years old and the oldest of a sibling group of three that were adopted by his loving parents, Scott and Jamie. He was the starting running back for Strongsville High School. Davion's family set up a scholarship in his honor to help people go to barber school, as that was Davion's dream. Dominic Russo was thinking about joining the military. His parents were Christine and Frank Russo. He had 6 siblings: Angelo, Christopher, Christine, Nicole, Michael, and Frank. According to Christine, Dominic's mom, Dom had stated that Mackenzie was crazy. I couldn't find a lot of information on Dominic, which is a shame because I would like to talk about him more and remember the life he lived. According to a police investigation video, it was said some people called Mackenzie Baby Kush because of how much weed she smokes. It was also stated that she had road rage issues before and once left Dominic on the side of the road. Jailhouse calls from Shirilla can be found on YouTube, and I highly recommend you listen to these calls. Her mom called her telling her about the attention she was getting from the crash. She said, maybe Kim Kardashian will reach out herself. In my opinion, I think it shows how selfish she is. There were also several times that Mackenzie talked about writing a book. According to the show Killer Cases, one of the first things Mackenzie said to detectives was, "Can't you just take my license away for 10 years?" Which is crazy to me. Like, you killed 2 people and that's what you ask. But this is her. She regularly smoked marijuana and drove her car. They found 7 grams of mushroom in the vehicle. The toxicology suggested that marijuana and mushrooms were not likely a factor in the crash. The detectives immediately filed a search warrant for her medical records and uncovered she had never reported any sort of blacking out or neurological issues. The next thing they looked at was if the Toyota Camry she was driving suffered any mechanical issues. A forensic mechanic looked at the vehicle and found the vehicle wasn't a contributing factor in the crash. Tyler Croy was Davion's friend. They had each other on the app Life360. Tyler had looked at the previous night and the app had stated the car was driven at 90 plus miles per hour. This was reported to the police. 2 weeks before the crash, there was an incident with Dominic and Mackenzie. Dominic called his mother because Mackenzie was driving recklessly on the highway. A friend came and picked Dominic up. It was said Mackenzie had said she would crash the car to Dominic as a threat. Because Mackenzie was 17 years old at the time of the crash, the beginning of the court process, she was in juvenile court for 3 days. Once the prosecutors talked about how much evidence they had, the case was moved from juvenile court. She would be getting tried as an adult. Her parents were able to hire a defense attorney for her. Well-known James McDonnell was her defense attorney. He claimed the prosecutors would have to claim she was suicidal for the case to be murder. Dominic's mother, Christine Russo, took the stand, and videos of the couple's fights that were videotaped were shown. According to one of the prosecutors, Mackenzie had been to the crime scene 3 days before the crash. The evidence proved she knew the dynamics of the road, and a video was shown of her driving on the road. She was driving the speed limit, and this proved she knew what the speed limit was. In November 2022, Mackenzie was arrested for aggravated murder ×2. She chose a bench trial. A judge would decide her fate. On July 31st at 6:15 a.m., a 911 call came in about the crash. Dominic's and Davion's parents were in court every day of the trial. While recovering, she went to the Flats in Cleveland for a concert. At the time, she was in a wheelchair. This was used against her in court to show a lack of remorse. She also went to an Ohio University Halloween party and was blasting herself all over social media. Shortly after the crash, Mackenzie was spotted driving an automobile. Her mother, Natalie Shirilla, testified that Mackenzie sometimes got dizzy. She was diagnosed with POTS and had to take salt pills for this condition. The mother also testified that the concert was with Dominic's cousins. Mackenzie spoke in court. I will play that now.
Mackenzie, you don't have to speak if you don't want to. It's up to you. Okay? You can sit if it's more comfortable, whatever's better for you.
The families of Dom and Davia, I'm so deeply sorry. I hope one day you can see I would never let this happen or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken. I love Dom and Davia. We were all friends and Dom was my soulmate. I wish I could take all your pain away. And I'm so sorry. And to my family, thank you for the support and all the love you guys give. Thank you for fighting with me. I love you all so much. All right, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you.
After hearing Mackenzie speak, I feel like I can safely say many people didn't think that she was remorseful. Although she did apologize to the victims' families, it did not seem like it was that remorseful and that she was trying to save her own self. I really like the judge in this case, and I'm going to play some of what she said now.
This trial is a culmination of decisions made by one person, the defendant. Those decisions have forever altered the futures of 3 families, and of you also, Mackenzie. And your decisions forever robbed Dominic and Davion of the futures that they had before them. If there is one thing that can be taken away from this case, as painful as it is this. Every decision we make is important. Every action we make is important. Regardless of whether the decision is a good one or a bad one, or the actions are good or not, the result is the same. The consequences ripple through time and affect many more people than one might think at the time of the decision. In criminal cases, the state carries the greatest burden under our law, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. As I previously stated, I considered all the evidence presented. And at this point, I would like to comment specifically on Exhibit 802, the crash video. This is the type of evidence you can never unsee. You can never forget the visual or audio of this exhibit. It is chilling and tragic. As you review that exhibit, you know that you are watching the oncoming deaths of 2 people, and there is nothing that will stop it. The video clearly shows the purpose and intent of the defendant. She chose a course of death and destruction that day. Exhibit 802 crystallizes the deadly decision-making of the defendant. She morphs from a responsible driver to literal hell on wheels as she makes her way down the street. Mackenzie alone made the decision to drive her car, to drive an obscure route, a route she visited a few days before, and a route not routinely taken by her. Mackenzie alone chose the time to make the drive, early in the morning, when any reasonable person would expect that few people would be nearby to witness it or offer life-saving assistance. She made these decisions despite knowing, as any reasonable person would, that her mission of death could have involved others, not even in the car with her, other people, other cars, pedestrians. She had a mission, and she executed it with precision. The mission was death. Mackenzie alone decided to push the pedal to the floor and demand the ultimate speed of that vehicle to 90 to 100 miles per hour. She alone decided what was to be. Mackenzie decided death was the ultimate goal that day, and she alone made that decision for Dominic and Davion, and she continuously acted in a manner to achieve her purpose. Whether or not she intended to also kill herself is a matter of speculation that have no relevance to the weighing of the evidence in this case. The totality of the evidence clearly demonstrates that Mackenzie Shirilla acted purposely and intentionally in the early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, and her purpose was to kill Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. No reasonable fact finder could view the totality of this evidence in this case and come to any other conclusion. Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. This was not reckless driving. This was murder. Court renders the following verdicts. Count 1. The court, having had count 1 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02a, is charged in count 1. Count 2. The court, having had count 2 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02a, is charged in count 2 of the indictment. Count 3, murder. The court, having had count 3 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02b, as charged in count 3. Count 4, murder. The court, having had count 4 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02b, as charged in count 4. Count 5, felonious assault. The court, having had count 5 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11 of the Revised Code, is charged in count 5 of the indictment. Count 6, felonious assault. The court, having had count 6 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11a2, is charged in count 6. Count 7, felonious assault. The court, having had count 7 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11a1, as charged in count 7. Count 8, felonious assault. The court, having had count 8 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11a2, as charged in count 8. Count 9, aggravated vehicular homicide. The court, having had count 9 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of aggravated vehicular homicide, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.06a2a, is charged in count 9. Count 10, aggravated vehicular homicide. The court, having had count 10 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of aggravated vehicular homicide, to wit, Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.06A2A, as charged in Count 10. Count 11, drug possession. The court, having had Count 11 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of drug possession in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2925.11A, as charged in Count 11. Count 12, possessing criminal tools. The court, having had Count 12 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of possessing criminal tools in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2923.24A, as charged in Count 12. The court, having had Count 12 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of possessing criminal tools, and further finds the defendant did intend to use a substance, device, instrument, or article, to wit, a digital scale, to commit the offense of a felony. Sentencing will be 1 week from today, August 21st at 1 p.m. If any party wishes to file a sentencing memorandum, it is to be filed by 4 p.m. on Thursday, August 17th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you, baby.
Everybody drink this quick.
As you can see, Mackenzie was guilty on all charges. I really wanted to include that clip because I feel like the judge did a really good job handling this case and a really good job advocating for Davion and Dominic's life. They deserved that. August 14th, 2023, she was found guilty. August 21st, she was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. She also appealed this, but it was denied because it was due a day earlier. So they were a day late in appealing the case. Thank you for listening, and this is your host, Caitlin. I appreciate all the support on this podcast and for your viewership or listening. It really means a lot to me, and Dominic and Davion deserve to have lived a longer life than what they were given. Mackenzie is still incarcerated at the Ohio Reformatory for Women. We'll see in 15 years if she actually gets out. It's a little bit less than that now at the recording of this podcast, but we'll see on what happens with her. Thank you again for listening. This is your host, Caitlin, and this has been the Ohio True Crime Podcast.